Welcome back to Stress Less, Joy More, all about well-being with Doris and
Paula.
Today's conversation is a little bit extra special. This episode is part of Podcasthon, a global movement where podcasters dedicate an episode to amplify the work of a charitable organization, giving space to their stories, their challenges, and the human impact behind the work. Are you curious? Our intention is to bring these organizations closer to supporters, volunteers, and communities through listening, presence, and shared humanity. I'm deeply grateful to welcome Lisa Stacey to the podcast today. Lisa is a certified yoga and meditation instructor, a Reiki master, and someone who has spent over 15 years with Wellspring Stratford Cancer Support Center, supporting individuals and families impacted by cancer. This conversation is about care, presence, stress, and finding moments of peace, even in uncertain times. Lisa, I'm so glad you're here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a delight to be able to, ask you about Wellspring and ask you a little bit about yourself, Lisa. We've known each other for a while, and in the last year, I've really gotten to know you through Wellspring. So I'm delighted that we get to spotlight Wellspring Stratford today.
Me too. Thank you for thinking of spotlighting Wellspring, because it's like a hidden gem, but for those who come across it, it just shines for everybody. And it's things like this to be able to get the word out for people that need to use the organization for support.
Yeah, it is a hidden gem, exactly. So just before I begin asking you a little bit about Wellspring, I want to get to know you a little bit better, or for our audience to get to know you a little bit better. And can you tell us, maybe let's just start off just checking in and just noticing really what has been supporting your well-being in recent weeks and months?
Well, here in Stratford, Ontario, the weather, Paula can agree with me that the last 2 months, the weather has been quite, I wouldn't say dreadful, but some people might use that word. That, today we have a freezing rain warning. There's been blizzards and snowfall warnings, and at one stretch of time there was, we'd wake up and it was -24 in the morning, with wind chill factors. So I think this weather has somewhat dampened a lot of people's moods. And to be able to get out of that headspace of what the weather is doing to us, you need to be able to get your face in the sunshine when it comes out, or you need to, find something to keep your mind occupied so you don't get, sucked into this space where it takes you away from what you can be enjoying, even despite the weather or despite what's happening in the world. So for me, I've been just really enjoying time with my family. It's just been nice with the, family day weekend and over the holidays to spend time with my boys and my husband, and my parents live in Stratford, so being able to spend time with them gives me joy. And my dog, Clementine, who's sleeping over here right now, so hopefully she doesn't snore too much during the podcast. But it's kind of the simple things, I'd say, you know. I think we always think about these grand things in life that should make us happy, but when you look at the whole spectrum, it's sometimes the little things that can bring you joy, and I think that's what I've been focusing on in these winter months.
Yeah, I can relate to that cold weather, that wind chill.
Yeah,
Every morning we wake up, there's another warning.
there's something.
I was thinking about what you were saying there, and what I was hearing is connection. I heard connection with your boys, your husband, connecting with your dog, and I think that's a big piece of our well-being is
And
the
connecting with
connection.
yourself too.
Yeah.
Like I always spend every day to give myself Reiki. It's like the gift that I give myself that I'm able to be able to give other people that gift. Because if I don't take time to do that for me, I'm not giving my all to give to somebody else. So I think, you know, I always tell people when I teach Reiki courses or healing courses, I tell people you need to focus on yourself and heal yourself, and when you heal other people, there's an exchange, right? Whenever I heal other people, I feel this healing back to me. And it's hard for the person receiving to understand that. But for healers like both of you probably understand that it's definitely an exchange and it's lovely, but you have to recharge yourself to be able to work with other people as well.
That's a really powerful message. You know, that I didn't grow up with that message. I grew up with take care of everyone else, and then if there's time
Mm,
left over, you know, take care of yourself. And I think that's a really powerful message for all of us
I do
that,
too.
yeah, fueling up our well-being allows us to actually be a support and service, and, you know, caring, peaceful presence to each other.
Yeah, lovely. That's right.
I'm wondering, just before we go any further, can you tell people a little bit about your background? And because it's all really focused around wellness, well-being.
hmm Um, well, I've been a certified yoga instructor and meditation instructor and Reiki practitioner for over 20 years now. Um, my life before wellness was kind of interesting. As I went to the University of Waterloo for film studies and fine arts, and I graduated there, um, and I sought off to find a job to be a documentary filmmaker. That's what I wanted to do. And I would go to Toronto and look for different just little jobs to maybe help me get into the industry. And I had a few connections. And while I was applying for jobs, I got scouted for modeling. And so my whole direction just changed without without expecting that. And I thought, well, if I get into modeling and television, this will help me get into the film industry. And I just lucked out where at the beginning of my modeling career, I got an agent in London, England, and got to model in the UK for a bit. And and then I met my husband, and it took me back to Toronto, and I modeled and acted a bit in Toronto for a while. So I had it was a really fun lifestyle, and got to travel, and it was some of the best years of my life. And a circumstance happened in my husband's family where they had a situation where they needed someone to live at their farmhouse in the country. It was just someone where they lived part time. But because someone tried to arson the barn down, they needed someone to live in this space full time. And my husband was a writer and said to me, "Do you think we should move up there and just have a change of lifestyle?" And at first I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I just knew this was really important to him. It was such a special, magical place in the country for him. And as a writer, what a wonderful place to create his work. So I took the move with him, and that's when I started to get into the wellness path, where I started working at an Ayurvedic wellness retreat. And it was then where I started doing my yoga teacher training, um, and became my path into Reiki and healing. And the Ayurvedic wellness retreat that was in a small town called Brighton, Ontario, was an absolutely fantastic place where an Ayurvedic doctor from India lived there and would treat people from all over the world that would come there that had chronic illness. And that's where I started working with people with cancer. A lot of people would come post-treatment to try and detox, and they would go through specialty Ayurvedic cleanses under the doctor's orders, and or the Veda. The Veda would prescribe these specific treatments, and I would work with them, healing or teaching yoga or doing meditation with them. So that's kind of my past and how I became kind of really in depth in my healing work. Yeah, I know that kind of went off.
No, that is so amazing how that brought you to that path.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a magical place, and all the people that worked there were just incredible, and we create such beautiful friendships. And I know I'll probably go back to this place when we ask questions, but my healing definitely went from, this huge jump of exploring different branches of healing rather than just Reiki. It was like all of a sudden everything just started to flower. And it was just a beautiful experience to be able to work with other healers to kind of help navigate what was happening, to ask questions to other healers. Have you felt this before? Have you experienced this? And it was just, yeah, it was just beautiful.
And it's interesting again, you come back to connection and community,
Mm,
within that was part of your well-being and wellness journey as well.
definitely. Yeah. Huge part of my wellness path. Um, yeah, I must say too, and I might be jumping all over the place, but when I first started learning Reiki, it was from my Aunt Linda, who I will definitely be speaking about more in this podcast. And I know I've shared with you a bit, Paula, about my aunt, but she was a Reiki master, and she was the most beautiful healer. And she attuned my mom and I with level 1 while my uncle was going through cancer. And she wanted us to help heal him. And that's how I was introduced to Reiki. I really didn't know much about it, but it kind of fell into the yoga and the wellness that I was doing anyways. And I know I'll come back to Linda and that, but it was her that kind of helped me on my path. So she was a very, very, probably the most influential person that led me into that healing journey in my life.
Wow. Wow. I got chills with that. Uh, okay, so for someone, tell me how that had led you then to Wellspring, and tell us a bit about Wellspring and what it means and offers.
Yeah, so um, we lived in the country for many years. My husband and I got married there, and then we had our first child, Fisher, in the country. And when I knew I was pregnant with my second child, it was a little too isolated where we moved. We moved close to where we were near that farmhouse where we lived. And we built a house in the country. It was very secluded. And after I knew I was pregnant with my second child, I said, I think I need to move somewhere a little bit bigger. And my husband said, well, you moved to the country for me, so let's move to Stratford where you grew up. And it's kind of a nice middle size. It's not as big as Toronto and not as small as Brighton, but it's just a nice community. So while I was pregnant, we moved and moved back to Stratford, and was very happy to be back home again. And probably about a year after looking after the kids, I was feeling it was kind of right time to get back into my work again. And that's when one of the volunteers at Wellspring who knew me and knew that I worked with cancer patients at the Ayurvedic Wellness Retreat said, would you be able to come and teach a yoga class once a week at Wellspring? And I thought, just everything aligned, and I thought, perfect timing, I would love to. And that's when I started working at Wellspring. And the classes were so great that they said, well, maybe we could add another class in to the programming. And I said, perfect. And over time building, we added 3 yoga classes, a meditation class, and I started helping out with administration work there because it was a team of about 20 volunteers plus someone from London that would come once a month to help make sure that the organization was running properly. And that eventually led London asking me to manage the center. So it was this organic way of me starting off with just teaching yoga and Reiki to helping out with programming and then fundraising and then now taking care of minding the center, which is, I never thought it would be this path for me, but I couldn't think of any other thing that I would want to do.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, that's such an amazing beginning, starting with the yoga. And I actually have a dear friend that used to come to your classes all those years ago and and his partner, and I know how much that meant for them to attend. Can you tell me what kind of services, and I want to, service might even be the wrong word. What is it that Wellspring offers those that are going through it or a family member is going through a cancer journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of people's misunderstanding of Wellspring when they hear it's a cancer support center, they think it's maybe something similar to um, the Cancer Society, where it would be like just getting information about, what your diagnosis or, diet or this, that. But Wellspring Cancer Support Center is an organization Canadian wide, and these programs are all very similar, offered at all of the centers, and they're programs to help teach people coping mechanisms, whether it's physical or mental health. So some of the programs other than yoga and Reiki that we offer would be or meditation, therapeutic touch. We do one-on-one peer support. We've partnered with the Stratford YMCA and offer a weekly aquafit class. There's a in-person support group where people that maybe need a little bit more of a not just a one-on-one chat, but more of a place to be able to talk about how to help them navigate their journey that with other people that are going through a similar incident. We also offer programs for caregivers. It's not just a place where people that are going through cancer can get help and services, but it's a place where people, if you're a family member or a best friend, if you've lost someone to cancer, if you've had cancer and you've been cancer free for years, and then you realize, I need help now. I just went through cancer and battled it. And I went through this tunnel where I just knew I had to get through the end, but now what? Now I don't, now I need help. Then they can use Wellspring services as well. So there's so many in-person support that we offer, but there's also so many incredible online programs through Wellspring Canada that people can access now on Zoom. That can be very specific to certain like male support. There's certain males that are diagnosed with, say prostate cancer that probably don't want to sit in a room with a bunch of lady that just went through breast cancer, but can be on Zoom with people from all over Canada and can be able to share their experiences with each other. So since COVID, Wellspring went to that direction of putting all the programs online instead of closing down like a lot of organizations did. And I feel like this made our organization stronger to reach out to people. Not only that, but for people that are going through chemotherapy or radiation and are at home and don't have the strength to come into the center, which was pre-COVID, they can turn on Zoom and here we are. We can do a meditation while they're lying in their comfort of their own bed. So it's really quite an amazing thing that's transformed after a pandemic into a very positive light.
Yeah, and I've also, having been in Wellspring, there's this incredible support when you walk through the door. the people that, you meet there are so supportive. Tell me a little bit about, um, I'm just thinking some of the experiences that you've had with the people that come through the doors that have really touched you. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that there's this warmth when you walk into Wellspring. And Paula, you would remember when our first place that we had Wellspring before we moved to our new location was this beautiful old house beside a church. And it was the old rectory space, and we rented it from the church. And we were there for almost 15 years. And there was a warmth when you walked in there. And I remember I just loved it in there. It was just so cozy, and it was like someone coming into your living room, and people would come and share stories. People would cry, but people would laugh. People would know it was a safe place. I think that's the main thing. A safe place where people could share their stories, knowing that there's a similar story with the person that was across from you. And that's why you could share it with a stranger, because there was just that common thread of, we might not have gone through the same thing, but I think they might understand me. And I think there's that understanding that happens in the space. But at the house, I guess I'm partial to the Reiki room, but the Reiki room upstairs was magic. And I loved treating people up there. It was almost like you went into another dimension when you were treating people. And when we found out we had to move during COVID, I was really sad, and I thought, what if this doesn't feel right where we move next? And we moved to this space in a more industrial location, and it just was different. And I just thought, I hope this space is going to be great. And it was the same feeling. And I feel like no matter where you move, you bring that energy with you. And Paula, the space that we're in now, I feel that same warmth when you walk in the door, just like we did in the old house. And I feel like it's all of our energy. It's the members' energy. It's like we create that. So it doesn't matter where you are. It's what you bring into that space that matters. And I feel like there's so many. I mean, I could have a whole podcast about the different stories of people at Wellspring, but I think the most common one is just there's such a beauty behind the despair of disease. And that with sadness or with fear or people being scared, there's beauty that everybody shines with each other in a very positive light, and this helping hand. And I've seen this for over 15 years, that one person who walks in that's just been diagnosed with cancer and is full of fear is sitting beside someone who's been cancer free for 2 years. And all of a sudden, these two people, like we were talking about, just like synchronicity, become these friends, and they help each other through their journey. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about Wellspring, is that there's this revolving door of wellness, giving, and healing with each other. And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I always say that the room it's probably been filled a few hundred times with tears, but it would be filled a million times more with laughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one thing that people should realize, that it's not a sad place to come to. It's a very positive and healing space.
Wow. And that's what I feel when I walk through the doors there, that
Yeah.
it's really, you're coming back to connection. It's a heart connection that happens there. It's a community connecting with the heart, And you're right, like the volunteers sitting at the desk for the person waiting for the treatment or for the class, the volunteers talking about their own journey.
Hmm.
It seems like every volunteer there is somehow connected to the cancer journey, and then that connection is automatically there between, whether you're a volunteer or a person coming in. It seems like we're all the same. There isn't that hierarchy. It's the connection of hearts there.
100%. That's the thing of it's myself plus 20, over 20 volunteers, and I would say more than half are cancer survivors. So there's a connection already, like you said, Paul, that someone comes in, they are holding back their tears and they don't even know where to start. And the person behind the desk could say, let's have a cup of tea. Let's sit down and chat. And they might start off saying, well, I started coming to Wellspring 10 years ago when I had cancer, and it meant so much to me that I wanted to give back, and now I'm a volunteer. And that's a very common thing that you'd hear at Wellspring. So right there, someone's looking at someone that just went through this journey that someone's starting, and all of a sudden there's this relief. I'm looking at someone that just battled cancer. So there's hope. And I think that's a word too. There's this hope when you come in that, like, example, Friday Fun Days. Every Friday we do a fun activity, and there's about 8 to 12 people sitting around the table, laughing, sometimes crying, but everybody has their own cancer journey. Whether it's someone sitting there that has just been diagnosed, that whole table rallies around that person and they protect that person and give any sort of advice or help or just a listening ear. And there's people that are at the table that are palliative and have the most strength and hope that you could even imagine, that these people are going through, and bring so much laughter, and they're getting so much out of these safe spaces with these friendships that they've created. And if someone doesn't show up for a few weeks, everybody emails me and asks if I can give the email address to that person that's not there. So there's this rally, like people are uh, like you said, it's the community, it's that community hug that's constantly there.
Mm. And to me, that's the foundation for well-being, is that connection, that community. Lisa, let's shift gears a little bit here and talk a little bit more about you. And I'm going to invite Doris into the conversation now.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that to the space. And, you know, I'm still staying with Wellspring a little bit because I became a little bit curious about, because we have listeners from, all over the world. And I'm sure not every country has these programs. But what's even more, the mentality of people going through cancer can be very different from country to country. And in my country, I would say a lot of people would still feel, why would I even go? So I'm thinking, even, in Canada, I'm sure there is a lot of people thinking, it's just a treatment. Some people still take illness just as a physical thing. You have to operate, you have to cut it out, you have to take some pills, do some processes, and that's it. How would you address those people who doubt? Does it even make sense to come to Wellspring? Does it even make sense to connect? Because I think they struggle the most. It's really hard to go through this kind of journey alone, but it's also probably really hard to connect and reach out.
You're 100% correct on that. I see this all the time, where I feel like it's just that first step through the doors, and that's the hardest thing. I also think like I said, there's some people that don't come to Wellspring for years after their treatment because you're just concerned about getting through what you need to get through at the time. I think that the one thing that I've dealt with personally with a lot of members when I first see them is such anxiety about the not knowing. It's like, when am I getting my operation? Or when is chemo happening? Or what does this feel like? Or where is it's the what if, it's the when, that is what consumes the mind. And I think number one that's helped a lot of people when they first step through the door is getting them into meditation. I think meditation is key for everybody. I mean, I've taught meditation to children uh, in different places to oh, right up to, people in their 90s. And I see that it's a common thing that we all need to focus on ourselves and to focus on letting go of the multiple thoughts and things that consume us and find this coping mechanism to make ourselves better. A lot of people that have come into Wellspring that had doubts and have done meditation for a few classes realize that this is a technique they can take with them anywhere, especially when they're going through treatment. And one lady actually who came to me over 10 years ago, who I remember who, when she walked through the door, she was just beside herself and and was crying, and she remembered the people that were there. I was just about to start a meditation class. I honestly didn't know if she could get through it because she was so overwhelmed. And I said, why don't you just take a moment and sit with us. And if you can't handle it, there's a library upstairs, there's a couch upstairs you can go be by yourself, or the volunteer can go up with you. And I remember teaching, and maybe I'll do this today on the podcast, but feeling that connection to yourself and feeling your breath, right? And maybe I'll just lead this right now if it's okay, because it's organic, but like if you place your hands on top of your heart or your chest and you close your eyes, and the first thing that you do is just focus on the movement of breath. And if you feel like your breath is very fast because you're upset or there's anxiety or something's happening in your life right now, there's this time to be able to feel this space across the heart, across the chest, and you have the power and the ability to slow it down. So on your next inhale, feel your chest gently rise into your hands. And on your exhale, it's like your hands are gently pushing it back down, letting it calm. So on your next inhale, feel the expansion and that slower breath. And on the exhale, your hands are calming you down. And there's this sense of warmth. There's a sense of stillness in your body, in your mind, but there's still a gentle movement of breath. And breath is always present. So no matter what is going on in your thoughts, in your life, you can always pause, place your hands on your chest, and reset, feeling the gentle rhythm of the heart, feeling the gentle rhythm of the breath, and knowing that you have the power and the tools yourself to allow yourself to release, to relax, and to be present. Let's just take a nice deep inhale, a nice slow release of the breath. And when you're ready, allowing your hands to relax back down into your space.
Thank you, Lisa. That was so grounding and present and really expanding to time and space. And I would really like to point out two very important things for listeners, maybe to what I would take away from this rich conversation. You know, it's never too late. It's your time. You can start when you're in the process of, medication, surgery, and everything. But maybe your time is after that, and that's okay too. It's like your journey. So start whenever it feels right, but meditation is very useful, breathing, grounding, coming back to your body. Would you share a little bit why meditation? How would you explain to people who maybe already have some senses, but I think most people don't connect. How would breathing or meditation help support physical health? We breathe anyhow. You said breath is always there. So why do we need to practice it?
I think because breath is always there, we're not always focused on it, right? There's just something that we move through life. And a lot of the times, as a yoga instructor as well, for example, just in class last night, I was teaching a pose. It was a little challenging. And there was 12 people in the class, and probably 11 of them were holding their breath during the pose. So I took a moment and I said, hold the pose, but don't hold your breath. And everybody took a breath. So I think we need to be reminded of the simple things that are naturally occurring in our bodies. And people laugh at that it's breath, but it happens all the time. People don't breathe naturally until they're probably sleeping. When you're in waking life, we're holding breath. We're running somewhere to get somewhere fast. We're eating too quickly. We're not focused on being mindful about our movements and our activities. Breath is being mindful all the time. And I think that exercise that I did to focus on breath was one thing that lady carried with her when she went to chemotherapy treatments. That the nurse told her to relax your hands down by your sides. And she said, I can't. This is what my teacher told me, and this is what's going to calm me down for my treatment. And the nurse said, that's fine. That was her way that she had to cope. But I have to say that breath is just one thing that is very easy for all of us to tune into, especially for children. I just another kind of thread of my wellness journey is that I was part of a team of volunteers that have traveled to Nunavut in Canada. And I've been to Nunavut 8 times, which is in the Arctic. And I would go there with a team of people where they would teach nutrition and cooking to the children there. And we would bring a team of high school students up with us, about 10 to 12 high school students. And we would stay up there for a week at a time, sleeping on the gymnasium floor. And then during the day, teaching the kids up there how to cook. But I would teach yoga and meditation classes. So it was very interesting teaching meditation to these beautiful children up there, where it's a different lifestyle up there. And they were able to connect and really, really enjoy meditation and yoga. And at night, it would draw all the kids in. And sometimes I would have the gymnasium where you could hear a pin drop. And it was just beautiful. And the little kids that I would teach during the day, I would go into the schools and teach the little ones where they would still speak Inuktitut. They hadn't learned English yet. And I would say, I have to learn how to teach these kids yoga and meditation without using my voice all the time. So I did it through action. And I would do almost like a Simon Says yoga, and I would call it Lisa Says. and I would lead just by using my arms, doing yoga poses, and I would have every one of these kids just following my action. And it was silence and that energy in the room of the kids focusing on movement is meditation. So meditation can come in many different ways, whether it's walking, whether it's cooking, whether it's reading a book or drawing. There's so many ways for people to get out of their mind of what meditating is in their mind to a broader definition of meditating is something where your mind's focusing on one specific thing rather than 20.
And
Just gonna drink a
you
little
know, one more question is showing up for me, because you speak about teaching kids these valuable tools, and I will be a little bit provocative. Do you believe or think that if we would teach children mindfulness, presence, being aware of what's happening to their bodies when they're already young, would they experience less illness when they're adults?
I feel very strongly about that. My boys are now 18 years old and 16 years old. When they went to public school, I taught yoga every other week at their school from kindergarten to grade 6. And that was my volunteering for them. So kids that are now in high school, when they see me, they always say, Mrs. Stacey, you taught me yoga or you taught me breathing. And they still remember that. And I feel like being able to teach kids at a younger age, you will never lose that memory. And maybe that's some techniques that they'll always keep with them. I also feel that children can tune in better to energy. And as we grow older, it seems like we have all these things that we're told to do, or this is right or this is wrong. But when you teach these kids, especially when I do fun like energy work with them, they all feel it. You know, I feel my hands getting warm, or I feel that energy bubble in between my hands. They're all so accepted to it. But as you get older, it's other things that come into play that I think sometimes, changes people's view of things. So I feel like you're right. I think the world would be an incredible place if meditation was taught on a daily basis in schools, even to start off with a 5-minute meditation. I remember at the high school, before my kids went there, I was asked to teach a weekly meditation at lunchtime for kids that were supposed to be in detention. And they could choose either to go to detention or they could come and do yoga and meditation. And there was a few boys that changed after that. And it was lovely to look back and see how maybe they just needed someone to help them or even just to be there with them. There's a lot of things that we don't know are going on in people's lives. And sometimes it just takes that connection and that love with two people to exchange to be able to bring them into or steer them into a new direction.
Amazing. I just love your insights, and I'm so joyful to be here with you. And I will pass it to Paula, because I'm seeing she has questions showing up too.
Oh, I'm just so excited by this, Lisa. You talk about meditation, breath, movement, yoga, Reiki, healing modalities, and how all of that can support, wellness and well-being. Can you talk maybe just a little bit about how really all of those support the nervous system and what that does for us.
Yeah. I think that meditation and mindfulness and breath work, everyone think it's here in the head. It's everywhere in your body, right? As a Reiki master in dealing with people's energies, everyone always says, I need to let go of my mind. I need to clear my mind. But we trap things everywhere in our body. And a lot of the times when you are attuned and you can help people with the energy work, a lot of the times I say, it's not in your mind. You're storing a lot of things in your stomach, in your gut, like kind of the third brain in your body. You have to work on every part of your body to be able to be healthy. It's not a release of thoughts. It's an entire system of energy points in your body that you need to heal and be aware of. And that's the great thing about, placing hands on the body. It's like there's sometimes people just say, I feel stuck here, you know, like I feel stuck here. Well, the belly is a place where a lot of people get stuck and need to find specific tools and release for that. So our nervous system holds on to that. Different things like I said, like walking or exercising, that's very important to be able to keep the body and the mind very healthy. So I think a lot of people have to realize that it's not just your mental mind that you need to take care of, it's the body as well, the energetic body and the physical body.
Yeah, and I find for myself what a relief I get from stress when I do move my body, whether it's, walking or exercising or yoga or qigong. There's such a
Qigong, yeah.
relief. Yeah. And I'm thinking too of, some of the people that we support at Wellspring, how they'll come in for an energy session and you can see that their nervous system is heightened, that they're feeling quite stressed. And you then watch them at the end of a healing session and it's like they don't want to get off the table. They're so
Mhm.
relaxed. And every
Yes.
time I'm just always amazed by that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I am too, Paula. There's some people that have walked through the door that I sometimes think I don't know if they're going to get through this, if they're going to just need to sit up and chat. But it goes right back to connection. It's like having a loving hand being placed on your body and feeling that beautiful touch. There's something about that it's almost like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like I just finished teaching a level 1 Reiki course to 10 women. And they kept asking questions, they're just learning and all these questions about how to heal. And I said, heal someone like you're speaking through your hands.
Mm.
You know, if you were to put your hands somewhere on someone's body, and whether it's still or even the gentlest movement, what would you say to them through your hands? That's how you heal. You heal through this channeling of love and insight and words to vibrate through that person's body. And I think that that is also something that can be said for people to place their hands on their own body. What would you say to yourself? How would you calm yourself down? In situations for me, if I'm going through something, in my life where it's my system is heightened. It's like you're talking, everything's going to be okay. Take a moment to breathe, or take a moment to go out and get fresh air. But everything's going to be okay. It's being present in that moment. That's another thing. Being present in the moment and not thinking about what's going to happen in a month ahead of time. Going back to Wellspring and people coming in who are diagnosed, it's that the wait and see, what's going to happen. So it's how do we help ourselves or help other people to be more mindful of the moment and focusing on how to be present and healing in the moment rather than the fear of the future.
Yeah, we project so much into the future, more suffering, more pain. And when you put your hands out like that, you're talking about the healing and the coming through the hands. And I felt actually the healing of your heart coming through there. I'm wondering if you would lead us just in a little practice of just something that connects with our heart, with our well-being, with our body.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's take a moment to be comfortable and close our eyes. And if it feels nice to place your hands around the heart, you can. But if you'd rather just sit and let your arms relax or lie down on the floor, I would probably recommend, though, because I'm such a big advocate of touch, is to place your hands somewhere on the body where you can feel you and close the eyes. And take a moment again to be present with breath, using that gentle rhythm of the breath to calm ourselves down. Noticing if you can feel the heartbeat. And noticing if you can feel the palms, whether they feel warm or tingly. And just allowing everything in the body to melt, especially around the face, letting the jaw relax, letting the space in between the eyebrows and everything just beginning to feel calm. And as we keep that connection to breath, beginning to soften the shoulders, allowing the spine to release, but feeling grounded, rooted, feeling that connection into your space. I'd like you to visualize your mind's eye traveling to the very crown of your head. And I want you to visualize the top of your head or the crown slowly beginning to open, like a flower. And as the petals and the flower just slowly begin to open, you're able to receive this warm, glowing light that travels in through the crown. And this warm, glowing light begins to travel around the eyes. It begins to come through your jaw to soften, through the tongue and through the lips, as the face feels golden. And allowing this warmth to travel down through the neck and the shoulders. And as we breathe in this golden light down through the face, we allow the golden light to circle around the throat, healing this area of your voice, of courage, and of hope. And as we allow this golden warmth to travel down to the heart, this is where we can feel that space, of inhaling light and exhaling golden warmth all throughout the lungs, the rib cage, and filling the heart. And with each breath we take, we fill this area with gold. Exhale warmth, traveling down through the center of the body, down towards the belly. Visualizing this golden light circling around the stomach and traveling through the inside of the internal organs, healing from the inside out. In which each inhale we take of the golden warmth, we push it down through the legs and all the way down through the feet where we ground ourselves, feeling that connection to the earth. With the crown of the head open, we inhale the golden light. With the exhale, we push it all through the body, through our cells, through our bones, as we are now pulsating gold, vibrating warmth, vibrating energy. And when we feel this warmth and energy, we hold it inside. And when we have a moment, we're able to give this feeling to someone else today through our hands. Take a moment to breathe in through the hands. Exhale that golden warmth traveling throughout the palms, the fingers. Keep this feeling with you for the rest of the day, and hopefully you're able to exchange it with someone else through touch or even through distance as I send mine to yours. Namaste.
I feel such a sense of peace through my system. And I couldn't stop smiling through that whole process, Lisa. The smile came from the peace. I am so deeply grateful for you and all that you share with the world. You bring so much hope, so much joy. This has been such a beautiful, peaceful, enriching time with you.
I am so grateful for both of you for having me here today, and I feel like I could talk with you for hours about this. I feel like I haven't even touched upon some of the interesting modalities of healing, which could be another interesting podcast of I know with both of you, starting off with a stem of healing and how it just branches into this beautiful network, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. And just, that you both know, but for everyone to know that the more you keep open to things, the more new things will come into you. And it's a beautiful thing to not close yourself off to anything.
That's powerful. Before we finish off, I really do want to give you an opportunity to share about this person that has inspired you on your well-being journey.
Yes, my Aunt Linda was my Reiki master. As I said, she attuned my mother and I for our level 1 when my uncle was sick with cancer. He unfortunately passed. I felt this huge connection with my aunt when she did my first attunement. And very interesting enough, she did my attunement long distance. And I was at the farmhouse when she did it, and she was in Montreal. And she said, just lie on the floor. It will take, this much time, and afterwards I'll call you. And I remember lying there and feeling tingling sensations in my body and feeling warmth and knowing that something was happening, even though she wasn't there in person. And at the very end of the treatment, I was on the floor, and all of a sudden, my arms started lifting away from the ground and coming up. And I was in this trance, like a meditation, and all of a sudden I realized what was happening. And I got scared, and my arms just dropped down to the floor. And then I came out of it. And I thought, what on earth was that? And when I talked to my aunt, I told her about, different colors that I saw and the gold and tingly sensations. And then I said, but something very strange happened at the very end. My arms started lifting off of the floor. And she said, I was lifting your wings.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough when I did level 2 with her, it was in person. And it was just beautiful to spend time with her. She was a fairy, an angel. And she raised butterflies and had beautiful gardens and always rescued animals. She was just an incredible intuitive and healer. And when she did my level 2 and we finished it, she said, when I went through my level 1 and level 2, I felt, you know, incredible what I brought into my life. And she didn't know why she was going to do her Reiki master. She knew she wasn't going to teach it. She knew that she didn't really need to do that, but she did it anyways. And when we did our session with each other, she said, I know now, I know why I did my Reiki master, because it was to teach you.
Mm.
So there's a very powerful connection, and I still feel her when I treat people. Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm very blessed to have her um, taught me. And unfortunately, she passed away of cancer as well.
Mm.
But she's still there. I can still feel her.
Lisa, thank you for sharing your heart with us today.
Thank you. And thank you. I would be lovely to speak with you both again. And I am very happy to connected with both of you. And I feel like this isn't just the first time. I feel like this might be a new beginning for the three of us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. And I would like to share that your story really brought light to the magic of life. There is so much we don't understand with our mind, but when we open our hearts, we feel that there is something there. And what you just shared is such a beautiful example of, the kids feel it. You feel it, the babies feel it, children can feel it, even see it sometimes. So maybe there is a possibility as an adults also to open our hearts and open to something maybe there's bigger than us. So thank you so much for sharing that.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both so much.
Yeah. And I would like to invite our listeners, if this conversation touched you, we invite you to learn more about Wellspring Stratford through donating, volunteering, or sharing their work, because we need these spaces to exist, to share the care, the love, healing to the community. Maybe, Lisa, just a question where people can learn more about Wellspring Stratford. How can people connect with you?
You can go online to our website. It's wellspringstratford.ca. There's lots of different information and programs to look at, but there's also my email address on there, as well as a phone number that people can call and reach out at any time. And I would love to chat more about any information that they may need.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And I trust we, open a space for at least one person that's struggling with cancer, that reaching out, doing that first step really does make sense, and it brings more peace and calm through their journey, wherever they are, whatever they're experiencing. They don't have to do it alone. And, to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember to take a breath, meditate, take a pause, come to the present moment. And of course, subscribe, like, and follow our podcast. Until next time on Stressless, joy more.